Now guys, I've been thinking, every time a shooting happens, a bunch of innocent people get hurt, it's always the same things that come up, right? You got really a couple different groups of people. You've got the first group, which you may belong to, where you don't want it to happen again. You want to do something about it. Doesn't matter how effective it is, if it maybe saves one life, you're okay with it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think your heart's in the right place. I really do. I think it's a very noble thing to want to change, make a big change, to save just one person, regardless of who it is. And there's nothing wrong with that, there really isn't. But I want to tell you that your head's not in the right place. Your heart is. That's important, but there's a couple other groups. Say the second group is the one I actually dislike. They're the ones who it almost affects them, but it doesn't quite. Maybe somebody only has a firearm that wouldn't be affected by any new laws. Say you want to ban something like this, or a handgun, in the event of a shooting. And you got those guys who say, well, doesn't affect me, so let's push it through. Hopefully you guys get kind of sated by that. That's the very wrong kind of thinking. Because their heart's not in the right place. They just want to make people happy to get the people off their backs. That really is the wrong way of thinking about it. You got the third group, which are the sport shooters, the hunters, that everybody that fits in any other category where they say, listen, I understand what you're saying, but it's the wrong way about doing it. Okay? You're targeting the wrong people, the wrong ideas, to try to make things better. So I think the big thing I think of when something like this happens is you get a way of saying, well, if it saves just one life, it's worth it, no matter how many people it affects. Okay? Like I said before, that's a very noble thing. But how far are you willing to let it affect you before it's not okay anymore? The thing I like to compare firearms to, whether you agree with it or not, is cars. Vans, trucks, doesn't matter what it is. Everybody drives, so that's something everybody can understand. It'll affect you no matter what's done. So say that I had a friend in Alberta who was caught drinking and driving. And I told him he was a fucking idiot for drinking and driving in the first place. But he had to have a breathalyzer put in his car. Couldn't drive his car without blowing into this breathalyzer that was attached to his car. It wouldn't start up. Had to have the okay from the breathalyzer to do it. So he'd have to blow in it, and after maybe half an hour of driving, 15 minutes, I can't remember how much it was, but he'd have to stop, pull over to the side of the road, blow into it again. Just in case he got somebody else to blow at the start or something, I don't know. Just to double check that he's not drinking while he's driving, I don't know. But that was a huge inconvenience. But he had to deal with it because he was fucking stupid. So say we went and said every single car in Canada has to have one of these breathalyzers in it. Because you know what? You know what kills people more than firearms every year in Canada? Driving issues. Alcohol, careless driving. So say we can cut out every single drinking and driving related death in Canada. Whether it's the drivers or the pedestrians, really doesn't matter as long as it saves one life. So every single car in Canada now has to have a breathalyzer in it. Now those aren't cheap. They're not cheap at all. They're quite expensive, but you know, it's a punishment for the people who break the law in the first place, I suppose. But you have to go and implement this. Every single car in Canada now has it. How many alcohol-related deaths do we have? None. Save thousands of lives every year. Are you willing to put a breathalyzer in your car to save 1,000 people a year? A couple thousands? How about a speed governor in your car? But keep in mind, this would affect me too. I would hate it. Absolutely hate it. Say you had a governor in your car. Can't drive your car faster than 50 kilometers an hour. That'd really suck if I want to do an Alberta trip, but you know what? Speed kills a lot of people every year too. Careless driving. You had another car, when you're both going 50 kilometers an hour, you'd have a much better chance of surviving than if both of you guys were going 110 kilometers an hour. Who am I fucking kidding? You guys drive like 140 kilometers an hour when I lived over in Alberta. I'm not joking either. People will just speed by, but the point is, how far are you willing to go? Save just one life until it affects you. And you'd say, well, driving is a whole lot different than shooting a gun. Okay, everybody needs to drive. Well, yeah. It's kind of part of our society now where it's just ingrained into it. Can't live without it now. Say the guys who got into shooting. It's part of our lives. I really don't like the idea of passing some laws that may or may not work, because the people who are passing the laws, they don't care. It doesn't affect them. As long as it makes it look like they're doing something, they'll do it, right? It's just that's a unfortunate way that we kind of run things now. Whatever affects the smallest population the most to try to make a difference, well, just push it through. See what happens. It doesn't affect me. I don't care. So I should have if it doesn't affect me. Right? Something to think about.